Today, we're going to be ranking every single card in the game after the recent balance update. So if you want to know what the best and worst cards are in Clash Royale, make sure you stick around. All right, let's go ahead, you guys and girls, jump right into it. I've got 5 tiers on my list today, ranging all the way from S tier, the strongest cards in the game, down to D tier, the absolute weakest. And the very first card to be ranked today is the Fireball. Currently, in my opinion, one of the strongest spells in the entire game, landing itself over here at A+ tier. You can never go wrong with a Fireball in your deck. Battle Ram over here, courtesy of the last buff in the balance update, is now an A tier card. A Bull over here, another A tier card. Elite Barbarians, definitely going to be an A+ tier card. Very, very devastating to your tower. Immediate bridge spam and can destroy a lot of the beefy tanks almost immediately in Clash Royale. Bomb Tower over here, A tier card. Electro Giant, definitely an A tier card as well. Very, very solid win condition. Now the Firecracker over here, gonna be on the lower side of the A tier list. I am kind of doing things a bit differently with this tier list. Not only do we have a whole new tier list system, but I'm also gonna be ranking the cards individually within a single tier. The Golem over here, gonna be a B tier card. Just very, very hard to use effectively just because there are so many splash heavy decks that are dominating in the meta right now. Electro Dragon, another A tier card, I believe better than the Battle Ram and the Bowler, which is why it's ranking a bit higher up here. The Dark Goblin, courtesy of the buff in the last balance update, is a very solid card. I don't believe it's an S tier card, which is why I'm ranking it as an A+, but I do believe the Dark Goblin is an absolute beast right now. The arrows, because of the Dark Goblin and the Rascals being so popular in the current meta, the arrows are a very solid option, going all the way up here in A+ tier next to the Fireball as well. The Clone Spell going to be an A tier card, a little bit higher than Firecracker, but lower than the rest of the cards on this list over here. Earthquake, I think, is an A tier card as well. Electro Spirit, in my opinion, one of the best cards in the game. 1 elixir, chain stun, a great cycle card, and has the ability to reset things like Sparkies, Infernal Dragons, and Infernal Towers. Just overall, a very, very effective unit. The Dark Prince, I firmly believe, is one of the best mini tanks in the entire game, and honestly, just one of the best cards overall. For 4 elixir, it has a charged double damage splash attack and a shield to soak up some of those heavier damage units. Overall, a very, very effective card, which is why it's ranking on the higher end of our A+ tier. Zaspel over here, I believe, is an A+ card, but a bit lower than the rest of these spells in the game right now. Zappy is going to be an A+ card as well. Very, very effective, very good on defense, split lane pressure, and the ability to reset as well. The Expo, ooh, the Expo is still a good win condition. Now the Fly Machine, however, is going to be a very, very strong card, ranking all the way at the top of our A tier list. And the Goblin Barrel as well, a very solid win condition, going to be ranking it at A tier. Now, even though Goblin Barrel and bait decks overall are all over the meta, I believe that's because things like Dark Goblin and Rascals are very, very strong, not because the Goblin Barrel itself is an overpowered card. Canon, however, ooh, is a kind of a weak card. Canon going in B tier. Now, I know what you're thinking. Shane, 2.6 Hog Cycle is everywhere. Well, here's the thing. 2.6 Hog Cycle isn't even the best Hog deck in the meta. If you want the best Hog deck, it's probably going to be Firecracker, Tesla, Hog Rider with the Valkyrie in there. And 2.6 Hog Rider is very, very hard to use successfully. It takes a ton of skill to win consistently with 2.6 Hog Rider. And honestly, if you are that good of a player, you could probably be better off playing a better deck if you are that skilled. Battle Healer here, another B tier kind of weaker card, only really ever works with the Elixir Golem, which is also a weak card in Clash Royale, which is why it's ranking at the B tier over here. Bomber over here, going to be on the lower end of the A+ tier. Because the Bomber is only a 2 elixir cost card and requires a minimum of an arrows, which costs 3 elixir if your opponent wants to destroy it with a spell, makes it a very elixir efficient card considering how much damage it deals. The Fire Spirit, like his Electro brother, is a very, very solid cycle card because for only 1 elixir, it deals more damage to a tower than a Fireball does. The Wizard here is going to be on a B tier, the higher end of the B tier. But the problem with the wizard is the fact that it costs 5 elixir, so a very heavy commitment that dies to spells like Fireball Zap or Lightning Spell. And honestly, as you push up higher and higher in trophies and you start facing more skilled opponents, they will know how to deal with that wizard effectively, and it'll become much harder to use. There is a reason why as you push up on trophies, the use rates of the wizard drop significantly to almost 0, because as you push up, there are better options that can be used. Now, the archers here are going to be another B tier card, a little bit on the weaker side for a ranged attacker, only really ever used in Expo Cycle, and beyond that, you don't really see it in any strategies in Clash Royale right now. Executioner, courtesy of the recent health buff, I believe now resides on the higher end of the B tier list, just barely outperforming the wizard because it still costs 5 elixir, but is significantly tankier. Now, the Electro Wizard over here could be another A+ tier card, very solid range attacker and air defense in Clash Royale. Because of the utility of that spawn stun and stun on attack, it is overall a very solid option to put into your deck, so highly recommend using the E-Wizard if you do have it. Now, the Elixir Collector, oof, our very first D tier ranking card over here, just almost impossible to use successfully. Any sort of spell against your pump gives your opponent value. It dies so easily and costs 6 elixir. Free spell over here, going to be on the higher end of our A tier list. Very nasty in Clash Royale right now, and honestly, in my opinion, lasts a little bit too long. Now, the Canon card, oh, this, in my opinion, this might be controversial, but I believe the Canon card is one of the most underappreciated cards in the entire game. Gonna rank it on the higher end of the A+ tier. A ton of health, high damage output, and a very long range, and 2 stages, with the second being able to pull tanks, makes the Canon card a very solid option in Clash Royale, in my opinion. Fisherman over here, another A+ card, but it will be on the lower ranking of our A+ here, right in front of the Zaspel. The Furnace, because of the last nerf that I got in the balance update, has fallen all the way down to the very bottom of our A tier list. However, it is still a viable card. Now, the Giant over here, going to be an A tier good card right in the middle of our A tier list. Goblin Cage, because of the last nerf, is fallen down from A+ down to A tier. However, it will be on the higher end of our A tier list. Giant Skeleton, however, way down here at the near bottom. No Ball here, way up here, I believe is one of the strongest small spells in the entire game. Because the balloon is so dominant in the current meta, having that knockback on your small spell as added utility and the slow effect as well, in my opinion, makes the snowball one of the best spells in the entire game. Balloon, speaking of balloon over here, look at this. We had the balloon way up here, one of the best win conditions in the entire game. It is all over the place. At least for me on ladder, I face balloon, I would say like 40% of all my battles that I do on ladder. And balloon works in a wide variety of strategies, whether it's lava balloon, balloon freeze, balloon cycle, even P.E.K.K.A. balloon. Baby D over here, another A+ tier, very solid splash damage attacker. Part of the reason why the wizard is so low on our ranking is because the Baby Dragon exists. The Baby Dragon, in my opinion, is just a better version of a wizard. Yes, it does less damage per attack, but it's also tankier, flies, and costs less elixir as well, making it a more versatile option in a wider variety of strategies. Goblin Drill over here, gonna be a tier good card, but on the lower end of A tier as well. Goblin Gang, gonna be way up here at the top of A tier. Very solid option in Clash Royale. Goblin Giant, gonna go next to his brother Giant over here in the A tier, right in the middle of the list. I'm gonna go Goblin Hut a little bit higher than the Furnace, but still on the lower end of the A tier. You know what? It's gonna go a bit higher than Expo though. Maybe even Firecracker. Maybe even, okay, right there. That's where Goblin Hut's going. Goblins over here, ooh. They're gonna go on the higher end of the B tier. For the most part, if you are using Goblins in your deck, you'd just be better off using Skeletons instead for 1 less elixir. You still get distraction, you still get a decent amount of DPS, but for half the elixir cost. So I think for most strategies, you are better off using the Skeletons than the Goblins. Golem gonna be up here in A tier, right in the middle of both of these giant boys. Graveyard, I believe, is a very effective win condition over on the higher end of our A tier list. I believe guards are A+. I think guards are underappreciated in the current meta. They do a ton of damage, and they have the distraction ability with that shield. Heal Spirit going to be another A tier card right in the middle of our A tier list. Same thing with the Hog Rider, a little bit higher than the Goblin Giant, but lower than the Golem and the regular Giant. Hunter, a little bit on the lower side of A tier, just overall isn't that effective of a unit ever since it was nerfed a few balances ago. The Icy Golem going to be on the lower end of A+ tier. 2 elixir cost, mini tank, fast cycle, and it has the added utility of the death explosion, which destroys things like skeletons or bats. Icy Spirit gonna be on the higher end of the A tier list, but I believe is currently outperformed by the Fire Spirit and the Electro Spirit, which is why it's not on the A+ tier. Icy Wizard. So far, it seems the Icy Wizard is back into the meta with that spawn effect. Even though it might not seem like a whole lot of spawn damage, it does add extra utility, being able to use it immediately on defense against things like balloons or hog riders for an instant slow. It also gives you another option to defend against a graveyard. The Infernal Dragon, another A+ tier card. Just overall very solid option. It melts almost any tank in the game. Now the Infernal Tower, however, is going to be all the way down here on the lower end of the A tier because it costs 1 more elixir than the Infernal Dragon, and because it can't counter push, it makes it a little bit less versatile than the Dragon option. So I believe the Infernal Dragon is a better option for most strategies in Clash Royale. The Knight, another A tier card, just overall very, very good stats for his elixir cost. The Lava Hound, still another A+. I believe Lava Hound is a very, very solid condition. Maybe a bit higher than the Bomber, but not quite as good as the Balloon itself. Lightning Spell, because of the champions, has catapulted all the way up to A+ tier. Not quite as good as Fireball, but still an A+ tier card in my opinion. Same thing with Bandit. Even though there is a bug right now that exists with the Bandit, it is still a solid option. And if they ever fix that bug, it's been almost a month now, Clash Royale, come on here. But if they ever fix that bug, it'll go back to being a high-end A+. But because the bug exists, it is going to be on the lower end of our A+ tier. Because the bug prevents the Bandit from denying Prince charges, which is a major loss of utility for the Bandit. Lumberjack going to be an A tier card over here. A little bit less than Hog Rider, a little bit less than the Goblin Giant, but a little bit more than the Heal Spirit. Magic Archer going to be on the lower end of the A+ tier. Mega Knight going to be definitely on the high end of A tier. Overall, good card in Clash Royale. Very, very solid option. And same thing with P.E.K.K.A, to be honest. P.E.K.K.A and the Mega Knight are both going to be on the higher end of an A tier list. Mega Minion going to be on the bottom of an A+ tier. Just overall, one of the best kind of air defenders in Clash Royale. Archer Queen over here, our very, very first S tier. Archer Queen over here, our very, very first S tier card. I think it is currently the single strongest card in the entire game. It is absolutely absurd how much damage the Archer Queen can deal in a short amount of time with that ability. She's absolutely insane. Now the Miner, gonna be an A+ card, but on the lower end of the A+ tier. Mini P.E.K.K.A, a bit on the lower end of the A tier, just currently is not very effective in the current meta because there are better options that exist like the Elite Barbarians. The Minion Horde, another D tier list over here. Because spells are so popular, often you'll see double or even triple spell strategies. Arrows are all over the place. Fire Spirit is all over the place. E-Spirit is all over the place. Basically, almost any card in the game is a positive trade against the Minion Horde. Just super hard to pull off successfully. However, the Minions are a very, very solid air defense card in Clash Royale. Gonna go ahead here and place it in the middle of our A tier. Mirror, gonna be on the lower end of our B tier. A little bit worse than Canon, but a little bit better than nothing. Mortar, I believe Mortar is honestly an A+ tier card. I believe Mortar is a very, very solid option in Clash Royale right now. A little bit behind the Balloon, but a little bit ahead of the Dark Goblin. Barbarian Barrel, boom, all the way up here. One of the best small spells. You know what? Let's go S tier. Barbarian Barrel is a very, very solid option in Clash Royale. The only reason you don't use the Barbarian Barrel is if you need the snowball for the knockback against Balloon or to reset things like Infernal Dragons. The Mother Witch, Still a very strong card despite the nerf, however, no longer S tier. Going all the way up here at the higher end of the A+ tier. Musketeer, A tier, but on the higher end as well, right ahead of the Electro Dragon. The Golden Knight, dude, my favorite card to play in Clash Royale. Way up here at the S tier. Not quite as strong as Archer Queen, but overall a very strong card. The Night Witch, over here, A tier, but on the lower end. Poison, gonna be A tier, but on the higher end of the A tier. Just honestly is a little bit outperformed by Fireball, but overall still an effective card in Clash Royale. Prince here, lower end of the A+ tier, high damage output, charge attack, very, very punishing, and is better in the current meta because of the Bandit bug. Princess, A tier, right in the middle. Rage Spell is gonna be B tier on the lower end of the B tier. Ram Raider over here on the higher end of A tier, right behind the P.E.K.K.A. Raz goes boom all the way up here at A+ tier. A very, very strong card in the current meta right now. Very, very effective, and part of the reason why Arrows is so popular right now as well. Skeleton King is going to be, unfortunately, right in the middle here of the A tier list. I think the Skeleton King is just kind of hard to pull off. The ability costs 2 elixir. Oftentimes it dies before it can use the ability, and compared to the other champions, you're just basically better off using one of these champions versus the Skeleton King. Personally, and I said this in my last tier list, I want a rework of the Skeleton King. Here's what I want. I think they should make the Skeleton King cost 5 elixir for the champion, but only 1 elixir for his ability, and also increase his health, damage, and splash radius for a 5 elixir cost card. I just believe he just isn't quite tanky as enough as it is right now. Then the Barbarian Hut over here going to be on the higher end of our B tier list. Rocket, lower end of the A tier, in front of the Skeleton King. Royal Delivery, way up here on the higher end of our A tier. Overall, a fairly good card. Royal Ghost, in my opinion, is secretly busted. Now, maybe that's a hot take. I don't know. But I believe the Royal Ghost is secretly overpowered. Like, I would advocate for a small Royal Ghost nerf. I just believe it's overall a very, very strong card. Even a 1 health Royal Ghost, if not answered, gets 2 shots to a tower, so it almost always forces a response. Royal Giant gonna be in the higher end of our A tier list. Royal Pickets over here, however, boom, A+ tier, one of the best win conditions in the game, right next to the Balloon. Now, the Royal Recruit's going to be an A tier card, way up here at the top of the list, in front of the Royal Delivery. Skarmy, also an A tier card. Boom. There we go. Skeleton Barrel, I'm going to rank it way up here. Actually, let's go right here. There we go. Skeleton Dragons, right in the middle over here. Thank you. Skeletons, I believe. This is controversial. This is another hot take. I think skeletons are S tier. The reason I say that is for 1 elixir, you're basically always guaranteed to get value, and there are so many cool things that you can pull off with those skeletons. Like, for example, use skeletons to surround a Royal Ghost, and you have yourself a positive 2 elixir trade. Now, the Barbarian's gonna be on the lower end of the A tier. Barky, I'm gonna go ahead right here next to the Goblin Giant. There we go. Spear Goblins, another very strong card, way up here on the higher end of our A+ tier. Castle Tower over here, still a very solid option on the higher end of our A tier list. Log Spell, also a strong small spell up here at the higher end of our A+ tier. 2 Musketeers all the way down here at the near bottom of our A tier list. Tombstone, I think now is an A+ card. Tornado Spell, another S tier card. I think Tornado Spell is beyond busted because basically it gives you the ability to place your opponent's cards where you want them. So it doesn't matter where your opponent places them, you can choose for them. I believe the Tornado is fundamentally busted and enables a lot of strategies in Clash Royale. For example, I think if the Tornado Spell did not exist, the E Giant would not be busted at all. Lots of people hate the E Giant, but think about it this way. If it were not for the NATO spell, would the E Giant be nearly as OP? Valkyrie, way up here next to the Knight. Overall, a very strong mini tank in Clash Royale. Wall Breakers as well. Very solid option on the higher end of our A tier list. Which way down here, unfortunately, in the B tier. And the bats way up over here. Very, very solid option Clash Royale, right next to the Spirit Goblins. So, guys and girls, that is the end. That is my official tier list for the new meta after the balance update. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree with anything on my list? If you do, let me know what you would change down below in those comments. But, guys and girls, that is the end of the video. Here's the list one final time. Thank you for watching, and we shall see you all in the next one.